The stars outside the Odyssey shimmered with deceptive calm. After the chaos of the Elyari station and the containment of the Nullwave, the crew had entered a region of the expanse that felt quiet. Too quiet. Captain Elara Rivers stood on the bridge, arms folded, watching the slow drift of starlight. The silence was welcome, but it was also unnerving. She had learned to distrust peace in deep space. "Any anomalies?" she asked. Mark Hughes at the navigation console shook his head. "None. Trajectory is stable. No gravitational distortions. No time dilation." Julie Hayes at communications frowned. "Accept this." Elara turned. "What is it?" Julie tapped her console. "A signal. Faint. Repeating. It's not on any known accord frequency." Jason Hampton leaned back in his chair. "Here we go again." Julie ignored him. "It's similar to Elyari structure, but different. It's not a distress call. It's a request." Elara stepped closer. "Translate." Julie hesitated. "It says, preserve us. We are memory." In the science lab, Karen Hudson examined the signal's waveform. It pulsed with a rhythm that felt almost biological, like a heartbeat encoded in light. "This isn't just a transmission," she said. "It's a consciousness. Fragmented, but alive." Julie nodded. "It's coming from a region of space where time flows irregularly. The coordinates are unstable." Jason Hampton entered, arms crossed. "We're chasing ghosts again?" Karen looked at him. "Not ghosts. Survivors." Jason raised an eyebrow. "Of what?" Julie answered softly. "The Nullwave." Elara reviewed the data in her quarters. The signal was real. The coordinates were dangerous. And the Accord had issued a standing order. Avoid the region. Classified as a memory hazard zone. She tapped her console. A secure transmission appeared. Admiral Valen, her former mentor. "Elara," the Admiral said. "You're approaching a restricted sector. Turn back. The entities within are unstable. They are not to be engaged." Elara frowned. "Entities." Valen's expression darkened. "They call themselves the children of the void. They are remnants. Echoes. They do not belong in our reality." The transmission ended. Elara stared at the screen. Then she tapped the console again. "Bridge. Set course for the signal." The Odyssey entered the region slowly. The stars bent around them. Time stuttered. Crew members reported déjà vu, lost time, overlapping memories. Mark Hughes gripped his console. "Navigation is unreliable. The stars are shifting." Jason Hampton adjusted the flight path manually. "Feels like flying through a dream." Dr. Jason Henderson monitored the crew from medbay. Psychological anomalies increasing. Memory bleed. Emotional instability. Julie sat at her console, eyes wide. "Captain, the signal is changing." Elara turned. "How?" Julie's voice was quiet. "It's speaking directly, not in words, in emotion." Karen entered the bridge. "It's reaching out, not broadcasting, connecting." The lights dimmed. The ship's systems flickered. A voice filled the air. Not heard, but felt. "We are the children. We are what remains. Will you carry us?" Elara stood at the center of the bridge, surrounded by silence. She looked at her crew, each of them changed by the Nullwave, each of them carrying scars. She spoke softly. "Prepare full diagnostic, containment protocols, and open a channel." Jason Hampton turned to her. "You're going to talk to it?" Elara nodded. "We're explorers. We don't turn away from the unknown." Julie whispered. "It remembers," Karen added. "And it's waiting." Elara looked out at the stars. "Then let's find out what it wants." The signal led the Odyssey deeper into the expanse, into a region where stars flickered like candle flames and space itself seemed to breathe. The crew had grown quiet, each of them feeling the weight of something unseen. Captain Elara Rivers stood at the center of the bridge, watching the stars warp around them. The signal had grown stronger, more complex. It was no longer just a call, it was a map. "Approaching the source," Mark Hughes reported. "Coordinates are shifting. It's like the location is rewriting itself. Julie Hayes leaned forward. It's guiding us, not to a planet, to a structure. Karen Hudson's voice came through from the science lab. I'm detecting massive energy signatures. Artificial. It's not a station. It's a memory well. Elara turned. Explain. Karen's voice was reverent. It's a construct designed to store consciousness, not data identity. The children of the void are inside. The Odyssey entered orbit around the memory well. It was vast, larger than any known station, shaped like a spiral of crystal and metal, pulsing with slow, rhythmic light. It didn't rotate. It resonated. Jason Hampton stared at the display. Looks like a cathedral built by stars. Julie nodded. It's transmitting again. Not in words. In emotion. Elara frowned. Can we respond? Karen entered the bridge. We already are. It's syncing with our neural signatures. It's choosing. In the medbay, Dr. Jason Henderson monitored the crew. Several members reported vivid dreams. Memories that weren't theirs. A pilot remembered flying a ship made of light. An engineer recalled a war fought in silence. Henderson recorded the anomalies. Memory resonance. The children are reaching out. He turned to Elara, who had come to check on the crew. This isn't just contact. It's integration. Elara's expression was grim. And the Accord knew. Henderson nodded. They've encountered this before. And they buried it. Julie and Karen worked together in the science lab, decoding the emotional transmissions. The children were not individuals, they were fragments. Pieces of civilizations lost to the Nullwave preserved in the wells. They're asking us to carry them, Julie said. To remember them. Karen looked at her. They're dying. The wells are degrading. If we don't help, they'll vanish. Jason Hampton entered, arms crossed. And what happens if we say yes? Do they take over? Karen shook her head. They don't want control. They want continuity. Jason frowned. And what if they're lying? Julie looked at him. Then we'll know. Because we'll feel it. Elara convened the senior crew in the observation lounge. The stars outside pulsed with the rhythm of the well. We've been asked to carry the memories of extinct civilizations, she said, to preserve what the Nullwave destroyed. Jason Hampton leaned forward. And the Accord says no. Julie nodded. They fear contamination, identity loss, cultural collapse. Karen spoke softly. But if we don't help, they die. Forever. Mark Hughes looked up. I've seen what forgetting does. It's worse than death. Henderson added. We can preserve them, safely, in isolated neural matrices. No risk to the crew. Elara looked at each of them. This is our choice, not the Accords. Are we ready to carry the weight of memory? One by one, the crew nodded. The Odyssey activated its neural interface. The memory well responded, sending pulses of light and emotion into the ship systems. The crew felt it, not pain but presence. 1,000 voices, 1,000 lives, whispering, we are the children. We remember. We remain. And then silence. The Odyssey drifted silently in orbit around the memory well, its systems humming with a strange new rhythm. The integration had begun. The children of the void, fragments of lost civilizations, now lived within the ship's neural core, dormant but present. Captain Elara Rivers stood in the command center, watching the data stream scroll across the main display. The ship's AI had begun to evolve, its responses layered with nuance and emotion. Status? She asked. Julie Hayes, now acting as liaison between the crew and the children, replied softly. Stable, but different. The AI is responding with emotional context. It's remembering. Jason Hampton frowned. Remembering what? Julie looked at him. Everything. In the science lab, Karen Hudson monitored the stasis pod containing the Nullwave fragment. It remained dormant, but the memory well's resonance had begun to affect it. The energy signature was shifting, becoming more structured. Dr. Jason Henderson entered, reviewing the latest scans. It's adapting, not growing, but aligning. Karen nodded. The children are influencing it. They're not afraid of it. They understand it. Henderson looked at her. And what if they're wrong? Karen didn't answer. Mark Hughes sat alone in the navigation chamber, staring at the star maps. The coordinates had begun to change, subtly but unmistakably. The stars were rearranging themselves, not physically, but in the ship's perception. He tapped the console. Computer, confirm stellar positions. The AI responded, its voice softer than before. Confirmed. Adjusted for memory resonance. Mark blinked. Memory resonance? The children remember a different sky. Later, in the mess hall, the senior crew gathered informally. The atmosphere was tense. Jason Hampton leaned forward. We're flying a ship haunted by ghosts. And now the stars are changing. Julie replied calmly. They're not ghosts. They're survivors. And they're showing us what they saw. Karen added, they're not rewriting reality. They're layering it. Jason shook his head. And how do we know what's real anymore? Elara entered, her expression unreadable. We don't. Not completely. But we choose what to carry. That night, crew members began to dream. Julie saw a city of crystal, floating in a sea of light. She walked its streets, speaking a language she didn't know, but understood. Karen stood on a dying world, surrounded by beings of pure energy, begging her to remember them. Jason Hampton relived the crash again. But this time, his co-pilot survived. She looked at him and said, "You are not alone." Mark Hughes saw his partner again. But she wasn't crying. She was smiling. Elara dreamed of a child, hers though she had none, asking her to tell a story of stars and silence and memory. In the morning, the crew was changed. Henderson ran diagnostics. No neural damage. But the memories are persistent. They're not fading. Julie looked at him. They're part of us now. Karen added, they're not just memories. They're seeds. Jason Hampton stood at the viewport watching the stars. Then what are they growing into? Suddenly, the ship's sensors flared. Mark Hughes called out from the bridge. Incoming object. Not natural. Not Accord. Elara rushed to the command center. Visuals. The display resolved into an image. A vessel. Ancient. Elyari in design but twisted, corrupted. Its hull shimmered with nullwave energy. Julie gasped. It's not just a ship. It's a carrier. A host. Karen's voice was quiet. One of the children didn't die. It evolved. Elara stared at the screen. Prepare for contact. The vessel loomed on the view screen like a wound in space. Twisted, shimmering with nullwave energy. Its hull bore the unmistakable design of Elyari architecture, but warped, as if reshaped by something that had forgotten what it once was. Captain Elara Rivers stood at the center of the bridge, her eyes locked on the image. Is it transmitting? Julie Hayes nodded slowly. Not in language, in emotion, rage, isolation, hunger. Karen Hudson's voice came through from the science lab. It's not one of the children, something else. Something that didn't integrate. Something that resisted. Jason Hampton frowned. A rogue memory? Karen hesitated. A corrupted one. The ship's AI, now partially integrated with the children's consciousness, responded with a new tone, somber, almost mournful. This one did not remember. Consumed. It became host. Mark Hughes adjusted the ship's position. It's moving toward us. Slow, deliberate. It's not drifting. It's hunting. Elara turned to Julie. Can we communicate? Julie shook her head. It's not listening. It's broadcasting. A warning. Or a challenge. Jason Hampton leaned forward. Then we need to decide, do we run or do we fight? Elara's voice was calm. Neither. We understand. In the science lab, Karen and Henderson examined the nullwave fragment. It pulsed faintly, resonating with the approaching vessel. It's responding, Henderson said. Not aggressively, like recognition. Karen stared at the readings. The host is a mirror, a version of what the children could have become if they had chosen isolation over integration. Henderson looked at her. And what if it wants to make us the same? The Odyssey launched a probe toward the host. As it approached, the vessel reacted. Its hull shifted, revealing a core of swirling energy. The probe transmitted images. Corridors filled with flickering memories, voices screaming, identities collapsing. Julie gasped. It's a graveyard, a place where memory went to die. Karen whispered, or to feed. Elara convened the senior crew in the observation lounge. We're looking at a failed preservation, she said. A civilization that tried to survive the Nullwave by isolating itself. It lost cohesion, identity. It became host. Jason Hampton leaned forward. And now it wants us to join it. Julie nodded. It's reaching out, not to share, to absorb. Mark Hughes spoke quietly. We can't let it touch the children. If it does, they'll be corrupted. Karen looked at Elara. We need to protect them, even if it means destroying the host. Elara's eyes darkened. Prepare a containment strike. The Odyssey launched a pulse, similar to the one used to collapse the Elyari station. It struck the host's outer hull, destabilizing its energy field. The vessel reacted violently, emitting a wave of Nullwave resonance. The ship's AI flared. We remember. We resist. Julie cried out, clutching her head. It's trying to overwrite me. Henderson rushed to her side, administering a neural stabilizer. Hold on. You're stronger than it. Karen activated a counter-resonance from the children's archive. The wave met the host's signal and canceled it. The host began to collapse, its structure folding inward, its memories unraveling. Elara watched in silence. Later, the crew gathered in the observation lounge. The stars outside were calm again. Julie sat quietly, recovering. It tried to make me forget who I was. Karen nodded. That's what it became. A void without identity. Jason Hampton looked at Elara. We did the right thing. Elara didn't respond immediately. Then she said, we preserved what mattered, and we protected what remains. Mark Hughes added, but there are more out there. More hosts. More echoes. Elara stood. Then we keep going. We remember. We resist. The Odyssey drifted in silence once more. The remnants of the host vessel scattered across the expanse like ash. The containment strike had worked, but the emotional toll lingered. Captain Elara Rivers sat alone in her quarters, reviewing the logs. The children of the void had gone quiet, their resonance subdued. The ship's AI, now partially integrated with their consciousness, responded with a tone that felt tired. We remember. We mourn. Elara closed the console. She understood. They had lost one of their own, corrupted, consumed, but still part of the whole. In the science lab, Karen Hudson monitored the Nullwave fragment. It remained stable, but its energy signature had shifted again, now pulsing in harmony with the children's archive. Dr. Jason Henderson joined her, reviewing the scans. It's not just adapting, it's evolving. Karen nodded. The children are influencing it, teaching it, guiding it. Henderson frowned. And what happens when it learns too much? Karen looked at him. Then we learn with it. Julie Hayes sat in the communications chamber, listening to the silence. The children had stopped transmitting, but she could still feel them. Not as voices, but as presence. Memory. Emotion. She tapped into the archive, searching for patterns. What she found was unexpected. A message buried deep in the resonance. We are not the last. Others remain, hidden, waiting. Julie's breath caught. Captain, you need to see this. In the command center, Elara reviewed the message. It was a map, fragmented, encoded in emotion, but unmistakable. A network of memory wells scattered across the expanse. Some active, some dormant, some corrupted. Jason Hampton leaned over her shoulder. So this wasn't a one-time thing. Julie nodded. The children are part of something larger. A system. A legacy. Mark Hughes added. And if we don't act, the corrupted ones will spread. Karen looked at Elara. We need to find them, protect them, preserve them. Elara's expression was unreadable. And defy the Accord again? Jason Hampton stepped forward. They're not out here. We are. Later, a secure transmission arrived from Celestial Accord Command. Admiral Valen's face appeared, stern and cold. You've gone too far, Elara. The integration violates protocol. The destruction of the host was unauthorized. You are ordered to return to Accord space immediately. Elara stared at the screen. And abandon the children? Valen's voice was sharp. They are not our responsibility. They are echoes. Dangerous ones. Elara's voice was calm. They are life. And they are asking for help. Valen's image flickered. You are relieved of command. The transmission ended. Elara gathered the senior crew in the observation lounge. I've been ordered to return. To abandon the mission. To forget. Jason Hampton leaned forward. And Elara looked at each of them. I refuse. Julie smiled. Then we go deeper. Karen nodded. We find the others. Mark Hughes added. We remember. Henderson placed a hand on Elara's shoulder. We carry them. Elara turned to the stars. Then we choose our own path. The Odyssey changed course, leaving the known expanse behind. Ahead lay uncharted space, scattered memory wells, and the remnants of civilizations long forgotten. The children of the void stirred once more. You remember. You remain. You are becoming. The Odyssey sailed into uncharted space, its course no longer dictated by the Celestial Accord but by something older, deeper, an obligation to remember. The stars ahead were unfamiliar, but the crew no longer feared the unknown. They had become part of it. Captain Elara Rivers stood on the bridge, watching the memory wells flicker on the display. Each one represented a lost world, a forgotten people, a story waiting to be told. Julie Hayes sat beside her, monitoring the emotional resonance from the children. They're guiding us, not with coordinates but with memory. They want us to find the others. Elara nodded. Then we will. In the science lab, Karen Hudson activated the stasis pod. The Nullwave fragment pulsed gently, no longer chaotic but rhythmic, harmonized with the children's archive. Dr. Jason Henderson observed quietly. It's stable, integrated, peaceful. Karen looked at him. It's learning, not just from us, from them. Henderson nodded. Then maybe it's not a threat anymore. Karen smiled. Maybe it's a beginning. Mark Hughes recalibrated the navigation systems. The stars were shifting again, not physically, but perceptually. The children's memories layered over reality, revealing paths that had never existed. He whispered to himself, we're not just mapping space, we're mapping history. Jason Hampton entered, watching the display. You ever think we're not flying a ship anymore? Mark looked at him. What do you mean? Jason gestured to the stars. We're flying a story, one that's still being written. Mark smiled. Then let's make it a good one. In the observation lounge, the senior crew gathered one last time before entering the next phase of their mission. Julie spoke first. We've become something new. Not just explorers. Not just protectors. We're archivists. Carriers of memory. Karen added. We're the bridge between what was and what could be. Jason Hampton leaned back. And we're doing it without permission. Elara looked at him. We don't need permission. We have purpose. Henderson raised a glass. To the children. To the forgotten. To the future. They toasted in silence, the stars watching. Later, Elara recorded her log. Captain's log, stardate 7429.3. The Accord has abandoned the children. We have not. We carry their memories, their hopes, their warnings. We are no longer just a crew. We are becoming something more, something ancient, something new. We remember, we remain, we become. She paused, then added, and we are not alone. The Odyssey accelerated into the void, its hull shimmering with the light of 1,000 memories. The children stirred within, guiding, watching, waiting. Ahead lay more wells, more echoes, more choices, and the journey continued.